Cubamax, a company headquartered in Hialeah, 11 linked corporate entities, 34 locations across 4 states, a formal authorization from the Central Bank of Cuba in December 2025, and a state law that takes effect on July 1st, 2026. The question is not just what Cubamax Travel does. The question is, how is it still doing it? While the federal government tightened measures against the Cuban dictatorship, Cubamax Travel did not reduce operations. It expanded them. Today, it operates 34 locations in 4 states. The Central Bank of Cuba formally authorized it for remittances in December 2025, naming it by its Florida registration number. Its corporate network links 11 entities, and HB 905 takes effect on July 1st, 2026, rewriting the powers of tax collectors across the entire Cuba-U.S. sector. On December 30th, 2025, the Central Bank of Cuba published Resolution 135-2025 in Official Gazette No. 100, expressly authorizing Cubamax Travel Inc. of Hialeah to channel remittances to Cuba. Florida records show 11 entities linked directly or indirectly to Carlos Trujillo and Geraldo Acosta. 8 active, 3 dissolved. The company's operational directory lists 34 locations, while its corporate About Us page declares only 13, a 161% discrepancy between 2 sections of the same website. The Central Bank of Cuba's authorization establishes a direct, officially documented link in the Gazette between Cubamax and the Cuban financial system. For the thousands of Cuban-American families in Miami-Dade who rely on its services, it can be interpreted as a guarantee of continuity in the space left by Western Union after it suspended operations to Cuba in November 2023. For OFAC regulators, it raises a question that is no longer hypothetical. What Cuban financial institutions are processing those funds, and does any of them appear on the SDN list, the Cuba Restricted List, or fall under the 50% rule? Cuba's Official Gazette No. 100, published on December 30th, 2025, included on pages 1 and 2 Resolution 135 of the Central Bank of Cuba, signed by Juana Lilia Delgado Portal, Minister-President. The resolution authorizes 4 activities for Cubamax: channeling funds through Cuban financial institutions, delivering cash in national currency or foreign currency, issuing transaction receipts, and managing digital platforms. The document imposes 10 obligations. Obligation number 7 requires Cubamax to submit to the supervision of the Central Bank and its superintendency. Number 9 requires it to answer with all of the company's assets, including assets located abroad. Number 10 requires it to submit to the jurisdiction of Cuban courts. The central finding is what the resolution does not say. It authorizes Cubamax to channel funds through Cuban financial institutions without naming any of them. That invisible chain is where the question of federal compliance becomes concrete. Florida Division of Corporations records show 11 entities linked to Trujillo, Acosta, or both, physically organized around 2 addresses in Hialeah. At 4380 West 12th Avenue, the headquarters of Cubamax Travel, you also find passport and visa expeditors, GIC Group, and Fundación Vine. At 735 West 60th Street, property of Iwali Investments, you find General Appliance Trading and the dissolved entities. 4 findings stand out. First, Cuba Charter Services declared in its own Articles of Organization that its purpose is to operate charter flights to Cuba and registered the Aero Cuba trademark. Second, GIC Group, incorporated in November 2023, introduces a 3rd manager, Ivan Castro Guzman, the only entity in the network with someone outside Trujillo and Acosta. Third, Fundación Vine, the only nonprofit in the network, shares the address with Cubamax Travel and states its purpose is to provide assistance with legal immigration status to poor and underprivileged migrants. Fourth, National Brand Management, managed exclusively by Acosta, states its purpose is to own and manage brands. Cubamax's official directory, captured on June 18, 2026, lists 34 locations across 4 states, 31 in Florida spread across 11 counties, with 18 in Miami-Dade and 3 outside the state in Louisville, Kentucky, North Bergen, New Jersey, and Houston, Texas. The company's About Us page declares only 13 branches. The discrepancy between the 2 sections of the same website exceeds 161%. Outside Miami-Dade, the network extends to Miramar and Pembroke Pines in Broward, West Palm Beach, Orlando and Kissimmee in the Central Corridor, 2 locations in Tampa, and points in Lee, Collier, Marion, Duval, and Bay counties. In August 2018, a plaintiff filed a class action against Cubamax in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida under the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. The allegation: unsolicited promotional text messages sent via autodialer between 2014 and January 2019 without consent. On June 20th, 2019, the court approved the settlement, approximately $800,000, with no admission of liability. Eligible class members numbered approximately 115,182 people. There is no criminal component in this case. In April 2024, during the International Transport and Logistics Fair in Cuba, Cubamax signed an agreement with Orbit S.A. for the transportation of perishable cargo from Florida to Cuba. Aerovaradero's website identifies CAXA, Corporación de la Aviación Cubana, as its owner, with the Ministry of Transport as the declared majority shareholder. On June 4, 2026, the U.S. Treasury designated MINFAR under Executive Order 14404. The regulatory question is not about political control, but about direct or indirect share ownership. If GISA or MINFAR own 50% or more of CAXA or the Ministry of Transport, the agreement could be affected under OFAC's 50% rule, even if Aerovaradero does not appear on any list. News Miami-Dade reviewed the complete Cuba Restricted List. Aerovaradero does not appear on it, nor on the SDN list by name. That chain of ownership has not been established in publicly available sources. News Miami-Dade does not claim that Cubamax, its executives, CAXA, or Aerovaradero have violated federal sanctions. Commerce between the United States and Cuba is exclusively a federal matter. Cubamax's operations are authorized under OFAC general licenses, family remittances under 31 CFR paragraph 515-570, package delivery under paragraph 515-542, and authorized transportation categories. Executive Order 404 of May 1, 2026 added secondary sanctions for foreign financial institutions dealing with designated entities. General License 1 of May 7 preserved transactions already authorized under the existing CACR. The burden of proving compliance falls on the company, which must keep records for 10 years. Miami-Dade, Hialeah, and the other municipalities where Cubamax operates only issue local occupational licenses. Municipal anti-communist statements have no direct legal effect on federal OFAC compliance. The map of authorities with real power over Cubamax spans 4 levels. Those that have already acted include the Hialeah City Council with 2 resolutions blocking benefits to companies with ties to the Cuban regime. Mayor Brian Calvo with Cubat, identifying 290 businesses for review. County Tax Collector Dariel Fernandez, who sent 75 certified letters and revoked licenses of 46 businesses in 2 rounds. Governor DeSantis signing HB 905, and the Treasury designating MINFAR. In all those cases, Cubamax continued operating. The tools that exist but have not yet been publicly activated are equally concrete. The Florida Office of Financial Regulation, which issued Cubamax's money transmitter license FT 23,013, active until April 2027, can suspend or revoke it without OFAC acting first. FinCEN can demand BSA reports on the transactions. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida has criminal jurisdiction if a sanctions violation is documented. Congress members Maria Elvira Salazar, Carlos Jimenez, and Mario Diaz-Balart can formally request that the Secretary of the Treasury investigate Cubamax's payment chain without needing new legislation. At the federal level, accumulated pressure includes the reissuance of NSPM 5 on June 30, 2025, the addition of Orbit S.A. to the Cuba Restricted List on March 10, 2025, which effectively removed Western Union from the Cuba Remittances market, the July 2025 list update with 7 military-controlled hotels, Executive Order 14404 of May 1, 2026 with secondary sanctions, and the designation of MINFAR on June 4th. Homeland Security Investigations is already active in the ecosystem. It carried out an operation in Bay County involving a location operating under the Cubamax brand, although the Hialeah company denied any corporate connection. The same period saw a tightening of energy supplies to Cuba. BIS suspended the SCP exception in February 2026, while OFAC preserved remittance channels through General License 1. tighten oil, preserve remittances. The asymmetry is documented in the official instruments. At the state level, HB 905, signed May 8, 2026, and effective July 1st, extends to all Florida tax collectors the authority to revoke or deny business tax receipts to companies trading with Cuba in violation of federal law. It also makes it a third-degree felony to submit false declarations about commercial activity with Cuba. Before this law, that authority depended on whether the county had its own instrument. Miami-Dade had it. Most of central and northern Florida did not. Starting July 1st, tax collectors in Hillsborough, Duval, Orange, Osceola, Lee, Collier, Marion, Palm Beach, and Bay counties will have explicit statewide legal authority over Cubamax's 13 locations outside Miami-Dade. The law is uniform. It does not distinguish between large and small companies. Cubamax is the company that triggered local policy, and it is still operating. Its request to expand its facilities in Hialeah in June 2024 triggered the first formal response from a Miami-Dade local government against businesses with ties to the Cuban regime. The City Council approved Resolution 2024-103 by unanimous vote. Cubamax continued listing its headquarters in Hialeah and multiple locations in the city. The tax collector sent 75 certified letters and revoked licenses in 2 rounds. The cities of Miami and Miami Lakes added their own instruments. The list of the 290 businesses identified by Cubat has not been made public. There is no public evidence that Cubamax is among those notified. The combined effect is a regulatory landscape that hardens on the periphery, while the core of Cubamax's business continues operating under the same general licenses it had before Executive Order 14404. The editorial question this landscape raises is not about guilt. It is about which authority, with what instrument, will answer the question that the official Gazette left open on December 30th, 2025.